1966. Well, today is a special day for all of us in Sierra Leone, as today Sierra Leone is celebrating 65 years of self-rule. Well, it was on this day in 1961 that Sierra Leone gained her independence from British rule. Well, Sierra Leone became a British crown colony in 1808. Since then, Sierra Leone was ruled by the British until 1961, when Sierra Leone finally gained her independence. Well, on this day, exactly midnight, the Union Jack was lowered and the green, white, and blue was hoisted, marking the beginning of self-rule for the people of this country. Well, 65 years down the line is what we are going to discuss today. Today, at 11 o'clock at State House, no less a person than the first gentleman, President Julius Maada will be hosting representatives from both, the many religions in this country, Muslims and Christians, because there is going to be an interfaith service at State House at 11 a.m. Well, today is Independence Special, because everything we are going to discuss here has to do with the country's independence. 65th independence anniversary of this country. Where are we as a nation? How far we've come? Where are we going? Things that we have done wrong, or things we've done right. What the scale is the way, where we've got it right and where we've got it wrong. So the purpose of this particular program today, which is Independence Special the program itself is Good Morning, but exclusively it is going to be independent. I am Shoku Smila, and the program you're watching is Good Morning, Sierra Leone. We're back, and the program you are still watching is Good Morning Sierra Leone, live from a broadcasting house near Ingleville in Freetown. Well, today is the 27th of April, 2026. Well, it was on this day, 65 years ago, Sierra Leone became an independent country, which means we are now in charge of our own affairs, in charge of our own destiny. 65 years, we are here today celebrating our independence, self-rule. Like I mentioned earlier, Sierra Leone became a British crown colony in 1808, which means we are ruled by the British till 1961. Well, in marking this date, no less a person than the first gentleman of Sierra Leone, His Excellency President Julius Maada delivered a national address, calling on Sierra Leoneans to embrace peace, unity, and national development. The president, in his address, also emphasized the need for national cohesion. He also emphasized the need for Sierra Leoneans to take the destiny of this nation into our own hands. But let us just bring you an excerpt, from the speech delivered by President Julius Maada marking the country's 65th independence anniversary.
My fellow Sierra Leoneans, 65 years ago, the green, white, and blue flag rose over Freetown for the first time. It rose because courageous men and women believed that this land should belong to its own people. They believed Sierra Leone could govern itself, shape its destiny, and stand with dignity among the nations of the world. Some paid everything for that belief. We honor them today by proving equal to the task they place in our hands. 65 years on, we know this truth. In 1961, we were not handed a finished nation. We were placed at the starting blocks of nation building, and the work of shaping a more mature nation remain ours. A mature nation does not hide from difficulty. It does not confuse ceremony with progress. So today, we mark this anniversary not with sentiment alone, but with measurable and undeniable evidence. In that spirit, I'd like to speak clearly about the pressures our people are carrying, about the country we are building, and the democratic duty we all share in securing Sierra Leone's future. Sierra Leoneans, the world around us remains unstable. Global conflicts, disrupted supply chains, and rising fuel prices continue to increase the cost of food, transport, fertilizer, and other essentials. Sierra Leone feels these shock sharply because we still import too much of what we consume. When the world becomes more expensive, life here becomes more difficult. Families feel it in the market, drivers feel it at the petrol station, traders feel it in the cost of moving goods. Households feel their rent and electricity bills. And they feel it in the daily strain of stretching limited income across ever-rising needs. I will not pretend otherwise. These pressures are real and felt in every district, town, and home across our beautiful country. For many families, even the most basic purchases now require careful calculation. There is also the reality of unreliable electricity that affects households and businesses alike. A serious government must be serious about this. But honesty is not enough. A serious government must also act. Fellow Sierra Leoneans, since 2018, my government has worked to strengthen the foundations of our economy. We are stabilizing the Leone, improving fiscal discipline, strengthening domestic revenue mobilization, narrowing the deficit, and managing inflation with greater seriousness and consistency. Our program with the International Monetary Fund remains on track, and our partnerships with the World Bank, the African Development Bank, the European Union, and others continue to support stability and social protection. We have also taken immediate steps to cushion citizens from the worst of the current shocks. This includes temporary support on fuel, the building of strategic reserves of essential commodities, and expanded support for vulnerable households. That support has reached citizens through the cash transfer and cash for work programs in communities where the pressure is greatest. We remain dedicated to shielding our citizens more effectively from the external shocks that are beyond our control. These measures matter. They provide relief. But relief is not the same as transformation. The deeper response is to build an economy that produces more of what it consumes, powers itself more reliably, creates jobs at scale, and trade from a position of strength. The lasting response is production. That is the Sierra Leone we are building. And that is why, for my government, 2026 is a year of action and accelerated execution. Fellow Sierra Leoneans, over the past 12 months, we have advanced our Feed Salon flagship program with urgency and direction. Agriculture is steadily becoming an engine of growth. Farmers are gaining greater access to improved seeds, financing, and markets. Investment in agribusiness is expanding. Our rice import bill is easing. Exports, such as cocoa, are strengthening our reserve. This progress is the result of deliberate action to shift Sierra Leone from consumption to production. This year, we will complete critical bridges and feeder roads that connect farmers to markets. We will advance the rice clusters in Tomabom and Bondapi, as well as establish the Agricultural Development Bank to unlock financing for farmers and agribusiness at scale. Our objective is simple and clear. Sierra Leonean farmers will be able to use our fertile land to feed
That was President Julius Maada Bio delivering an address marking the country's 65th independence anniversary. The president spoke, among other things, the need for us to work together to revamp this economy. He spoke about the need to address the issue of imbalance in trade. He spoke about the crisis around the globe that is affecting every country, Sierra Leone being no exception. So he spoke on the need for galvanized efforts to make this country a better place. Where he said this year, 2026, is a year of delivery. But then to talk generally about the independence anniversary, plans, activities, and things that will be happening today, and why the government decided to go low-key in this celebration, 65 years of self-rule. In the studios, I have Edward Jawad Nyale. He is from the Strategic Communications Unit in the Ministry of Information and Civic Education. Good morning, Nyale, and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mohammed Jawad Nyale.
Mohammed. Now, Jawad, let us talk about, you've heard what the president said, an excerpt from his speech this morning, which was played at the SLBC 7 a.m. And there was also a simulcast. Other stations also across the country joined, apart from SLBC outlets, other media houses also joined us to broadcast this particular speech. But then, firstly, Edward, I know you'll be going to State House for the interfaith service. But then tell us, why did the government decide to go low-key in this landmark celebrations? I mean, 65 years of self-rule.
Yeah. So for us, for President Bio as well, it is extremely important that we pay attention to the most important things. So, of course, they did not put prayers today, but also beyond that as well, different ministries have also done smaller events instead of spending time and resources on a large scale event. let's not forget one of the things President Bill really highlighted and acknowledged in his speech this morning is that it is difficult for some families across the country to afford or to get by. So, in that particular spirit, it will look insensitive for the government to invest huge money and pump it into celebration and pomp and pageantry. So, for us to really not miss out on the day, there's going to be a very small event for Interfaith, of course, this morning. Us at the Ministry of Information, this week we've already done a very, very important symposium with young people, but also we climaxed that with a conversation, a roundtable conversation with senior citizens, leading academics, and we spoke about the future of the country, how far we've come, and the role and responsibilities of us as citizens as well in building the country. We spoke about citizenship, we spoke about AI and democracy, we spoke about things like disinformation and how young people can really be an example to lead this country on the right path, and how much responsibility we all have as well in our own different ways to really ensure we do the right things, we engage meaningfully as well, but also we create a culture of civic participation, which is extremely important. Looking back 65 years on, these are some of the most important things we've achieved. We've created a platform where citizens can express their opinion, they can express their thoughts, they can engage with their governments, they can self-determination in terms of who governs them in their local councils, or who governs them even in the country. So all of these are progress that we've made as well, but whilst recognizing that progress as well, President Julius Maada Bio is also reminding all of us that it's not enough. We need to do more. We need to do more for our citizens. We need to do more for our country as well, but also not just necessarily relying on government to achieve and accomplish all of those things, but also collectively as citizens to also come forward as well and participate in that process of building our country. Okay. This is a journey, and this is not the stopping point. It's part of the process of development. It's part of the process of growth for us as a country.
Okay, now the president spoke about trade deficits, trade imbalance. He spoke on, of course, the Middle East crisis, which is ravaging the world in terms of, because as it is always said, whatever affects crude oil or petroleum products, it has a multiplier effect. It affects almost every other thing, be it commodity or whatever. But then the president was very sincere, in admitting that all is not well, But why is it that the president is so honest to say that things are to be fixed? Things are not as good as we are, as they are supposed to be. But why is it that spokespersons for government or government officials, when they are on air, they say different things? The posture is that, things are well, everything is okay. Well, now the first gentleman of this country, talking to Sierra Leoneans, admitting that as a nation, we still have a lot of work to do.
I don't think our posture or our premise has always been, our starting point has never been everything is okay. That's not our starting position. Our starting position has been, we've made tremendous progress, but also we recognize the fact that despite those progresses, there is demand for more. Take, for example, free quality education. By 1961, when we got independence, you had less than 15% of our girls in school. Today, that number is over 150% percentage points. But the reason why you have that is because of programs successive governments have implemented, but also what has really catapulted that is the free quality education. But despite that success, there are fresh challenges. There is this common saying that to whom much is given, much is expected, or the more you do, the more people expect from you, right? So education itself despite the success we've had in it as well, there are fresh challenges, for example, classroom availability, teacher availability, and things like that. And along the way, we recognize those challenges and we are working tirelessly to fix them. If you look at agriculture, we are now going down the path of food self-sufficiency, and that demand, that drive has also created fresh problems.
That also has been, challenged by your critics. But much has not been done, in the agriculture sector.
No, but that's not true. If you look at the volume of imports, for example, our import bill for rice as well has gone up by 10%. We have more locally consumed products now in our school feeding system. Farmers are making up to 30 or 40% of what we consume now in schools is produced by local farmers. So that means more money for farmers. If you look at egg, for example, local eggs are 10% cheaper than the imported eggs because we've produced so much and they are in the market and they are competing for good prices. We are now exporting products. So it means even what the president referred to as that trade deficit, we are closing that gap. But nevertheless, of course, he's the first gentleman and he's right to say that there is a trade deficit. And because of much of the programs that we've done, we are now trying to bridge that particular gap. So yes, so we have done a lot, but still there is a lot more to do because our population is expanding, demand for food is growing, demand for energy is growing, demand for so many other things is growing. So we are constantly trying to make sure we meet those demands. And of course, that's why we put ourselves up for scrutiny and we expect people to hold us to account. And that's why we come to places like this, to media like this, to also explain how much we are doing, but also recognize how much more we can also do.
But then, Yale, as a citizen of this country, you've seen it all. You've been in practice of media, and then you know exactly the issues affecting this country in terms of economy, social life, cultural, as the case may be, political. But then, do you really think at 65, if we are to kind of do a kind of comparative analysis, comparing Sierra Leone to other countries, we got independence almost the same time. For example, Ghana got her independence in 1957. In Guinea-Conakry got theirs in 1958. Nigeria 1960. But you can see, these countries, it comes to tangible development, you see them far ahead of us. As a nation, do you think where we are today is where we are supposed to be?
No, we are supposed to be far ahead. But also, we must also recognize that it has not been a very smooth 65 years. In that 65 years, we have had 10 years of civil war, we had more than 20 years of one-party states, we had military interventions here and there, we've had major disruptions. We must also recognize that. And those disruptions sometimes have stalled our progress. Take, for example, the civil war. For 10 years, we didn't do anything but fight. So it meant that when that fighting was finally over, we had to start almost all over again. But nevertheless, in the midst of all of that as well, we've had 5 successful elections. So our democracy is not perfect, but it is working compared to neighbors around, for example, where their democracy is declining and they are retreating back to military rule. So if you look at Sierra Leone as well, the civic space is expanding as well. More activists have more space. But all of these things are things that at some point have held us back. So it is also important to recognize that. But our nation, our country, as ambitious as we are, we want to aspire to higher heights. And so the president's speech is a reflection of where we want to go, the direction where we want to head to. We know we have a lot of work to do, especially for the next generation of citizens, which the president really referenced in today's speech, addressing young people as well, and the opportunities that the government is also trying to create for young people as well. And of course, we understand the demand and the hunger for more jobs, more opportunities as well. And how do we also make sure we meet and service that particular need as well? If you take, for example, for girls, we are opening the doors for girls. If you're a girl today in Sierra Leone, it means that if you're on a pathway to science, the state is going to take care of your fees from primary right up to university level. That in itself is transformational. So we are hoping to create more scientists, for example, more engineers that are women, and create opportunities for them. But boys are also not being left behind as well. You have higher enrollment in schools, which in itself we must admit have created its own problem. But these are challenges as well. As we are going, we're also working on fixing them. So as imperfect as it may seem, we are still making progress.
Okay, now let us come to the politics. You know, politics is supposed to be something that directs a nation. You know, where you want to be, for example, in the next 5, 10, 20, or 25 years, as the case may be. And every political party in this country is people centered. You know, it is this populist kind of thing. You know, PMDC, SLPP, APC, everything. You know, all the parties, they must have people. You know, People's Movement for Democratic Change, SLPP, Sierra Leone People's Party, APC, All People's Congress. So the people are always at the center of whatever manifestos they have, what they want to do for the country. But do you think as a country we've been able to get politics right?
Our politics is not perfect. And if you go to anywhere in the world, every country has its own peculiar challenges. In our own context, we have factors like tribe, we have factors like religion, we have factors like ethnicity and things like that. And our politics is not perfect, but we are making it work as it is. We have a functioning judiciary, we have a functioning parliament, we have free and fair elections every 5 years, we have free press, we've moved forward to make major reforms within the landscape to really increase civic space as well, and guarantee and promote freedom of speech as well, if you look at the global index on how much we are doing as well. So we have all of these indicators which is pointing to progress. And yes, it is not imperfect, so from time to time we'll have disagreements. But if you go back to the president's speech, he is saying is, even when we disagree with dignity, and we don't degenerate the conversation to lying, to disinformation, or to tribal rhetoric, etc., etc. So that was a major part of his speech as well. So look, we keep saying democracy is, there are going to be disagreements in democracy. We are all not always going to say the same thing or want the same thing. We all want progress for Sierra Leone, but depending on the political party you have your own agenda, your own goal, or how you want to go about it. And there are always going to be those differences. But even within those differences, we should not forget that Sierra Leone is the most important common denominator. And okay, that is what should hold all of us together, and that is what we should aspire for, to make the lives of every citizen better.
Now, Mr. Njale, Sierra Leone returned to democracy in 1996. This year is exactly 30 years since the country returned to democracy. But then you think really, I know democracy is not an event, you know, it is a process. Democratization is a process. It doesn't happen, you know, in a day or in a year, or sometimes even in a quarter of a century, or, you know, as the case may be. But then you think our democracy is a working democracy. Do you see separation of powers? You know, because over the years it has been the optic that the executive arm of government always dominates. You know, power is centered or concentrated on the executive arm, while, you know, parliament and the judiciary, they are at the mercy of the executive. So do you see our democracy working? You know, in a real sense of separation of powers.
Our democracy is working because we have a function, like I said, we have a functioning parliament, we have a functioning judiciary, we have a functioning executive, and so there have been times, for example, where the executive may want something done, but if it doesn't go through the necessary parliamentary process, that thing will not be done. So in itself, like I said, it's not a perfect system, and so from time to time you might have hiccups here and there, but it is working, because every 5 years we come back and we put new people in these positions. But apart from that as well, we there's a workable system, and that workable system is functioning. They have responsibilities,
But yes,
and their responsibilities have not been usurped. And like I said, it's not a perfect system. So from time
but
to
why
time,
can't we try to
they-
get it perfect?
no. If you take, for example, the American system, which is their own democracy, is 250 years old, far older than ours, it's still not perfect. So I'm saying it's a work in progress, and that work in progress means that there are going to be times when we are going to falter, but we learn from that and say, how do we make this
But
better?
then, when?
And one of the things we are also making sure to make it better as well is the constitutional review process,
Okay.
where every voice is being heard, every point like what you are mentioning are also being taken into consideration as well, to really shape the next the next 50, 60 years of our country. So that is how you build a country. Through, you are going to make mistakes, you are going to learn from them. There are going to be imperfect systems, but as we've watched it,
But
like
then
you said, 30 years of
at
democracy,
65,
we come back
at
and say,
65, Dali, at 65, if we continue, making mistakes at 65, you, don't you think? Yes, we know it is not a perfect system like you alluded to, but then don't you think it's high time we started correcting our mistakes?
yeah, but that's what we are doing now. That's what we are doing. So, for example, from time to time, all of us as citizens will agree that, okay, maybe our constitution is a bit outdated. I mean, this is an argument where most people have had. And the way you fix that is you go through a constitutional review process, and that process is ongoing. So it means the things that we want to work perfectly, we could now suggest, okay, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do this, and then we'll have a process that is open and fair and transparent as well, where everybody can give their own voice, give their own inputs as well. And that's democracy. That's how you build it. That's and that's how you get to a point where everything will work perfectly. But I must also say, like, if no matter how much we do as well, democracy in itself is really built around sometimes disagreements, because when disagreements emanate as well, everybody tries to justify their own point. But that value, that engagement, that civic participation, that is really what enriches our democracy.
No,
Those
Sierra
multiple
Leone,
viewpoints.
Sierra Leone has been ruled by only two political parties, since independence, the SLPP and the APC, and it continues like that. We've not got any other party, occupying State House. It has been the case since independence in 1961. But these two political parties, they've been dominating the political space, for 65 years, even before that, because there was a legislative council wherein SLPP, which was the only party at the start, they were having members in that legislative council. But this dominance of two political parties in the democratic space or in the political space, largely a duopoly. Yes, other countries are enjoying duopoly, two political parties dominating the space. But then you see this duopoly as something that is actually helping the country's political transformation or development, as the case may be. The duopoly that has been in existence since 1961.
Well, I'm not a political scientist, but I think the people will have a say in that. So if we are at a point where you only have two political parties that have been in governance at different points in our democratic existence over the last 30 years, it tells you a lot about the will of the people, about the desire of the people as to who they want to rule them. So if, for example, if we are ever going to have a third party come to power, that is an if. It means that the people have to determine that, and that's the beauty of democracy. So even like I said, I go back to the US. They have a 250-year-old democracy. It has been Democrats and Republicans. Not because you don't have other third parties, but they just haven't garnered enough support to really break through and form a government. And that's the same case with Sierra Leone here for now. And it's the same
there
case.
is
It's the
this
same case with so many other countries
there is this a conspiracy theory, but these two political parties are the reasons for no third party, emergence. Well, even if they emerge along the line, they just fade away. So some people think that these two political parties, these two giants, are the reasons for the non-existence of a powerful third force.
Well, I mean, I'm happy you said it's a conspiracy theory. So that in itself explains a lot. But then as well, I think even if you look at PPRC, which is a functioning democratic institution, in its purpose and in what it has in its law as well, they have been trying to work with political parties to really see how they can sustainably run their political parties, because it's a question of sustainability. Right? Yeah, they come 2 years, 3 years, and then they dissolve.
Yeah, in fact, quickly, Nyali, as part of this conspiracy theory, is that these two political parties have amassed so much wealth that it appears as though politics is now like, plutocracy. Democracy has been transformed into plutocracy. The rich are the ones, who actually get what they want in politics. Because, for example, now if you want to stand as Nyali, you want to become a councillor or a member of parliament, you just have to spend money. And if you don't have that money, technically you are locked out. So people say this democracy that we are talking about has been probably misunderstood to be plutocracy, government of the rich.
I take exception to that, because I know so many people who are in governance, whether they are councillors, they are MPs, they are not the richest people from their communities. I'm also telling you that yes, it's true. Politics is expensive, not only in Sierra Leone, anywhere in the world. So for example, if you go to other countries, before you even decide to become a candidate, you need to demonstrate an ability to raise a certain amount of money, because they know politics is an expensive game. So you have to spend money in campaign ads, in posters, in flyers, on several other things to mobilize as well. So anywhere you go in the world, politics is extremely expensive.
But the thing is that we've also seen we've seen a situation where somebody who's not probably, well, the person might not be a poor person, but the person is also not rich. But then, because of the support, the ideas, the plans,
I'm coming to that point because it comes back to that. We've seen brilliant people who are in politics today, who are in governance today, who are not the richest. They have ideas. But so what you have
it depends on the political party they belong to.
Of course.
If you are not, for example, now, if you are not in the APC or the SLPP, it will be very difficult. Because these parties, they've ruled this country for 65 years. They've got the resources. It's about resources.
You have to also let me explain.
Okay.
Let me explain this. Look,
okay.
Ideas alone, no matter how brilliant your ideas alone, don't win elections, right? So you need to, one, have the right backing. And the reason why people also lean to, of course, these big political parties is also the reach, the network that they've established over the last 50, 60 years. Because that age and that longevity has also come with a lot of experience, a lot of network building across the country. So that's why, for example, if you go to a certain party in this country, if you are a candidate of a certain political party in that area, you are much more, whether you are rich or poor, you are guaranteed to win because it's a stronghold, right? But the only reason why that is possible is not because of money, it's because of network. And this is not to discount money, because money is extremely important.
Okay.
And it is, and so anywhere you go in the world, money is a huge part of politics, right? Because so even with PPRC, of course, they have regulations, they have laws around political financing and things like that. And so yes, so for lesser, I would not say lesser party, but for other political parties, apart from the two major political parties, they may struggle. But also as well, if you go to so many other examples, it is also how long can they sustain? Because you and I can testify that almost after every 2 election cycle, they are gone. They just give up. So,
and people say they are killed by the giant parties.
no, like I said, I think that's just a conspiracy theory.
That is,
but the thing, the reason, in fact, the fact that we are having this conversation also tells you how rich our democracy is. We have a multi-party democracy. Of course, the strength of all the political parties are not the same because of so many other factors, but also the fact that we have so many political parties, so many voices in our political space as well. That's extremely important for our democracy. It tells you how far we've come from the days where the British will say, no, this man will not stand, or we will rule this particular chiefdom, to a day now where we are now deciding on our leaders. People are free to join whatever political movements they want. We elect even our paramount chiefs now. And we elect our councillors, we elect our mayors, we elect our presidents, and so many other political offices. And this gives this right to self-determination is something we must not take for granted, because there are so many other countries in the world that have had independence, but yet still all of these things that we are enjoying in our democracy, it's almost like a privilege. They can't enjoy it at all because of the restrictive form of governments that they have. So I look back at that and I say we have really come a long way as a country.
Okay, yes, we've come a long way for the fact that we are existing, and some other countries, they are almost failed states, but as a country we continue to thrive. At least a nation that has identity. But now let us talk about today itself. What are some of the activities? Because we already know that it is low key, and there is going to be an interfaith service at State House this morning. But tell us what's the I know in Sierra Leone we have two main religions, but then there are also other religions being practiced here, like for example Judaism. But then we know today at State House is going to be Muslims and Christians. How do you determine selection? It is that because traditionally these two religions are the ones we know. The reason for them being, they are the only ones selected to be part of this service.
Well, I mean, we as a Sierra Leone, as a state, on our functions, we are focusing on the two main religions as well. Of course, there's freedom of religions. We have other people in this country that are practicing other religions, but we focus on the Muslims and Christians. And of course, that selection is broad-based. Really, you have established structures. For example, interreligious council. You have Council of CCSL, Council of Churches Sierra Leone. We have different religious groups that are recognized by the state, so they will be invited as well. Look, the president is a deeply spiritual man, but also not just him as well. This country in itself as well, we are a very religious country, and so at times like this, we use this time to reflect, to pray to God as well for direction, for His mercy as well, because we are also extremely lucky as well as a country. Despite everything we've gone through, by God's grace, by God's guidance, we are still here, and we are still working to attain our full prosperity. So that's basically what's going to happen. But other ministries have also done smaller events. For example, Ministry of Tourism did the boat race some few weeks back, and then they just launched Leicester Peak as well as a tourist site as well. They have view index that I will encourage everyone to go and visit. They have a gastronomy forum as well, which is really to display Sierra Leonean food, Sierra Leonean cuisine. We want to focus a lot on that as well as a country. We as the Ministry of Information, we just did a seminar backed up with a symposium to young people, but also we brought also senior citizens as well to come and have a big conversation about the direction we all can take our country forward to So all of these things form the fabric of the celebration this year as well. And so it is low key, but it's also filled with a lot of substance as well. A lot of substance that we could all reflect on and shape our path going forward as a country.
Okay, Dale, I know you are a very busy man today, but then quickly let us talk about the national cohesion. I think it is key to nation building or national development. Do you really see because it is not a belief of many people that this country is deeply, polarized politically and otherwise, as the case may be. But then moving forward as a country, 65 years as an independent country, 65 years of self-determination, of self-rule. What do you think we should do as a nation to ensure that we are together? Because it is no secret that this country is hugely or largely polarized.
Look, few things we have to recognize is that we are not a homogeneous society, meaning we have our differences. We have our differences in political opinion. We come from different places across the country. We belong to different religions. But also, whilst we recognize those differences, and cohesion doesn't necessarily mean that we set aside all of those differences and we all become one unit, because it's not possible for any country, right?
Oh.
But also, what cohesion really means is that despite all of those differences, we pay attention to the similarities as well that we share. I can go to Kenema or I can go to Makeni and I eat petete lifide as well, because it's a common food we all eat, right? Of course, from one place to another, all man go get Haidi Kukan. I will go to Pujan, or I go to Kamakwe and I can eat Pemaon as well, or Lafidi, and then we get similar culture, for example, whether it's marriage, whether it's how we celebrate with Pulnado, or whether it's how we even commemorate burial ceremony, right? We get all of them similarities.
Now, when it comes to all of those areas you are mentioning, when it comes to politics, now,
of course,
the division is deep rooted in politics.
That's why I'm saying. That's where I'm coming. So I'm saying, whilst we get that division in politics, and you have to also recognize that there is never going to be a time ever in this country or anywhere in the world we'll get them fragmentation there, then political fragmentation there in any country along political lines. Because democracy in itself requires that you belong to a different political party, I belong to a different political party. And from time to time, we are all jostling for power. And that during that jostling as well, we are also putting our agenda forward for the country. That is what democracy requires. We need to recognize that. But and I come back to what the president says, that even when we disagree with dignity. We not disrespect ourselves, which is extremely important. You may have a different political view, I may have a different political view as well, and we may not even get to a common ground. But I should respect your own thought process, and you should respect mine, and we should not degenerate the conversation to violence. So we get enormous responsibility for really ensuring.
That was exactly where we're coming to. Now, yes, we know there is no way. In fact, there are no two human beings that are exactly the same. Charles Darwin says variation among living things. Even if you are from the same belly, you are twins or triplets, as the case may be, there must be variations. So there is no way you can get people to understand or to agree 100% on everything. But the thing is, when it gets to the point where now people see one another as enemies, because you are not part of my own political party or philosophy or affiliation, you become an enemy. So how do we manage divisions so that it doesn't get to a point where we have to see ourselves now as foes?
I think for a start we all have to be tolerant.
Okay.
And so I go back to religious tolerance, for example. We are one of the most religious tolerant country in the world. We can translate that to politics. So if I hold a different opinion and you hold a different opinion, tolerance means that I don't need to accept your own viewpoint necessarily, you don't need to accept mine, but just respect the fact that I have a right to hold that opinion. And I'm not labeling you names, I know they curse you, I know they can call you all sorts of things just because you hold a different opinion. And that is why, that's the tone President Julius Madabio was trying to set in his speech. That even when we disagree as well, disagree with dignity, is that you can hold your viewpoint, I can hold my viewpoint, and we may never have common ground, but let's not forget as well, you have a right to hold your opinion. So we have to get to that point. And I think at some point we are there, but there are other times as well where something will flare up and then it gets out of control as well. I'm sorry because I have to.
Yeah, I
have
know,
to
definitely,
rush to an event, but
know.
I think, like I say, I'm deeply proud of for being a Sierra Leonean and that we are celebrating our 65th anniversary, and we are looking.
But
forward.
why are you not in your? Okay, yes, there's something
No.
that resembles green, white, and blue.
Yes. I'm going to work. And unfortunately, green, white, and blue clothes. The way I've worn all over the last 2 or 3 days, and I couldn't get to wearing a new one this morning. But we are rushing out to set up.
Okay, just give us a picture of how today is going to be celebrated across the country. Because I know that a lot of our compatriots are in the provinces right now, and they are only 2 corners doing their own celebrations. But then just give us, from the government lens, a kind of a picture of how this celebration is going to look like today across the country.
Well, there isn't any state-sponsored celebration of some sort across the country. Let's just be clear on that. I mean, the only small event we are doing today is at State House, and then immediately after that, like I said, there are a number of other events as well that ministries have done leading up to this day, and some might even do some later on this week as well. So I think that's it. But of course, so the president has called on all of us as well to deeply reflect on some of the statements that he made as well, but to also deeply reflect about our role in this country as well, our role as citizens in how we want to build this country going forward.
But then now, what's your Independence Day message to the people of Sierra Leone? 65 years of self-rule. You know, somebody was saying yesterday, but 65 years is not 65 days. So it means, as a country, we have to be very serious about what we do after this particular celebration, because a lot of eyes are on us. People are now making comparative analysis, you know, comparing Sierra Leone to countries that we got independence almost the same time. Probably 1 or 2 years difference. But then, as a nation, what do you think we need to do to get it right? At least to achieve this projection for a middle income country by 2030.
We all have to recognize our role that we have to play as ordinary citizens. I say to people sometimes, we think the responsibility is just on government, but it is not. The government is, we are all part of government in some way or form with the individual actions that we take. For example, if we encourage lawlessness, for example, or we are deliberately throwing trash in the streets, or we are maligning our own country as well and presenting a very bad picture of our country. All of these are things that may hinder our progress as a country. So going forward, we need to recognize our own role and responsibility. And this is not to say that we are moving responsibility away from government. No, it is not. But it is also collaboration with citizens as well, to build the country as well, but also to the young people as well, to actively engage with the democracy that we have.
But then
because
now
information is power, and that information as well means that young people are actively engaged, for example, in the social media ecosystem. But how do they conduct themselves there? How do they use it as well to amplify their civic campaigns as well? How do they as well use that as well for the good of Sierra Leone as well? How do they ensure that they are not withdrawn from the process of democracy and then leave themselves open for misinformation?
Okay.
These are all extremely important things that we should reflect on and we should do going forward. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. He is Mohammed Jawad Nyale from the Strategic Communications Unit in the Ministry of Information and Civic Education. And he has been talking to us about the country's 65th independence anniversary. And the program you are still watching is Good Morning Sierra Leone live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation television and also through our social media handles. We go for a very short break and we'll be right back.
As a mother of the house, whenever I want to prepare palm soup, there's no need pounding palm fruit. All I need is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. My soup is done, and its preparation, it is not difficult at all. Nkulenu palm soup base, it's easily done with no difficulties. Just take few ladles and your soup is done. And its flavor, it's amazing. This is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. And this is Nkulenu's Ghana's original spiced palm soup base. Iron fruit and turkey berries are naturally added.
Also available brown gold natural cocoa powder, sunny gold brown sugar, neat fufu flour, shito, pisa, and moringa. All available at Nyami Ado Enterprise, 1 Lower Waterloo Street, Freetown.
Nkulenu palm soup base.
Ghanaian original taste.
We are back, and the program you are still watching is Good Morning Sierra Leone, live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation television. Today is the 27th of April 2026, and today marks exactly 65 years, 65 years since this country attained independence, self-rule, and we shall be joining our outside broadcasting team at State House for the interfaith service, which is going to be attended by no less a person than the first gentleman of the country, President Julius Matabele. So now our outside broadcasting is at State House to bring you live coverage on that particular event. And the program you are still watching is Good Morning Sierra Leone. But then, as all of us know, religion has been a key in keeping our country together. Religion has played a role in every aspect of our daily lives. During the war, religion, especially the Inter-Religious Council, played a role for peace to be restored. They were very active during the days of President Ahmad Kaba, who did everything possible to bring or to restore peace to this country. They were part of the Lumi peace process, and they were part of disarmament, reintegration, demobilization, as the case may be. But then what has been the role of religion in keeping our country together, in keeping our country united? Have they been playing their traditional role of speaking truth to power? Well, we have here in the studios Reverend Mohammed Mansare. He is from the Evangelical College of Theology, JUE, and he's here to talk to us about the country's 65th anniversary, independence anniversary. Good morning, Reverend. Welcome to the program.
Sir. Thank you.
So, Reverend, 65 years down the line, today is exactly 65 years since Sierra Leone gained independence. Tell us what has been the role of the inter-religious council or the role of religion in keeping our country together?
Okay.
Keeping people together.
We are very, very grateful as a nation to say that the Lord had been so gracious to us as a nation for us to go through this particular time as we celebrating our 65th independence anniversary. And so we appreciate God for His guidance and His providential care over our lives, and we are very, very grateful to the Almighty God. Well, as religious leaders, the church and the religious community in Sierra Leone, we are part of the moral guarantors, and we have been playing vital role in ensuring that there is peace and stability in this nation. We know about the role of the Interreligious Council in the Leone Peace Accord and trying to see how there's going to be some peaceful cohesion in the county, and we have been used as a model for other counties because we are working together in this peaceful and cohesion for us to be able to survive as a nation. And so we are used as examples in other parts of the world to see how they can
Well,
work
in
together.
Sierra Leone here, Reverend, I know you must have heard, but people say you are being criticized of not speaking truth to power.
Yeah.
People say you even change your sermons. Once, an influential or very powerful politician is in the church, sermons are changed. I don't know how true is that, but you must have heard people accusing you of not speaking truth to power. How do you react to that?
Yes, well, yeah, I do accept that as well in some cases because we do have some of the religious leaders who would just try to
And even some
dance
of
according to
them,
the tune.
some of them are deep in politics as well.
Definitely, and so we realize that some of them, they are so deep in politics that they are not really doing what they're supposed to do. But as religious leaders, we are supposed to be a moral guarantor, and also we are supposed to be able to speak truth to power. But at times, the tendencies are there for some of us to compromise our position, and we have so many examples of people really having that will to address some serious issues in our nation and our society. But that's our role. That's our role because we are there to speak as the voice of the voiceless. But at times, there are times when we fail the nation, and some of us really admit it.
But now, Reverend, what is your assessment of how the country has been run, since independence? I know religious people, they most times they shy away from politics. But then politics is everything. If you want to get the economy right, it is politics. If you want to get the lives of people better, it is politics. If you want to get even the social issues around right, politics has to be right before you can achieve all of those. It says, seek first the kingdom of God, and all other things shall be added unto you. And in this case, if we get politics right, we can get every other thing right. So do you think really as a nation we've been able to get politics right?
Well, I think we really have some problem in the area. We have so many challenges in the political sphere of this nation, and so that's why I think in support of the government having this particular celebration as a low-key celebration, because there's no emphasis on this elaborate celebration, because things are not going the right way for us as a nation. And so, for me, I think it's a time for sober reflection as we try to reflect on where we're coming from and our present situation and what will be the way forward for our nation. So
In other words, you are in agreement with the government insofar as these celebrations are concerned.
Yeah.
For example, now today, they're not going to have any elaborate, celebrations or events. It is only an interfaith service that is going to be observed by no less a person than the president, and at State House, wherein Muslims and Christians are going to converge at 11 a.m. For that particular service.
Yeah, I think it's in place for us, not only for the government but also for the people of Sierra Leone. We should not just have a low-key celebration, but also it should be a time of reflection.
Reflection, okay.
Sober reflection, for us to know where things have gone wrong and what are we going to do.
But now, Reverend, you are very influential, because you have your congregations. You talk to people, they listen to you. Now, as a country, where do you think we've got it wrong? But we are still where we are. Which are the areas we need to tackle or address for us to be on a better footing, to compete with other countries? When we go to negotiations, we go there, in a position of strength and not weakness.
Well, I think I was listening to Professor Judy Ali's speech this morning, and he mentioned the aspect of having a faulty foundation with regards to, the way in which we gain our own independence. We did not labor and fight for it.
So we are giving on a silver platter.
So
we didn't struggle much.
And okay, and then secondly, this aspect of continuity. Governance is continuity. But for us, what we are seeing, not just from the politicians, but even, the ordinary citizens, is that we really are not thinking about continuity. We need to have policies that, even if we have to change the administration, but they're going to follow that national policy. But for us, whenever we have a change of governments coming in, they have their own agenda. Okay? But then even the people as well, when the incoming government may want to implement what the others have done, the organization, afterwards, we've started this whole thing. So you see, that mentality should change. That perspective, that mindset should change. You see? But then we are trying to see how, we are just focusing on our own political parties instead of being a bit patriotic and trying to see how we can have this nationalistic spirit so that we work together.
So in other words, Reverend, you're saying that nationalism and patriotism are lacking.
Definitely.
In our society.
Yeah.
But how do we kind of try to let people understand that this country is the only country that we have? You can never be called an American or a Ghanaian or a Nigerian. You are a Sierra Leonean. So that kind of that sense. Now I know civic has been reintroduced in our schools. Do you think we need to do more as a nation to ensure that people really understand what nationalism and patriotism are?
Well, I want to say that first of all, our leaders should have the political will to see how they'll be able to foster nationalism and patriotism than their own political agenda. They should have that political will. But also, as the ordinary citizens, we should also see ourselves as being responsible citizens. But you find out that some of us is just our party color, our regional and tribal groups that we are trying to promote. And so we should be thinking about Sierra Leone and not just our party colors, our regions, and our tribal groups. Because if we talk about national cohesion, you need to understand that these are the things that we have to promote.
Okay.
So it's both on the side of the leaders, but also as citizens as well. We
All
need
right.
to change
Okay, Reverend. I'll come back. I'll come
Yeah.
back to you. I'll come back to you, Reverend. He is Reverend. This is Reverend Mohammed Mansari from the Evangelical College of Theology, JUI. He's been talking to us about the country's independence and things that he thinks we must do or should do as a country to make this place a better place for all of us. Sierra Leone celebrates 65th independence anniversary today, 27th of April 2026. Well, now, children are also very important, you know, in whatever celebration that is going on. Those who witnessed the day itself, in 1961, will tell you that they were on the streets, lined up, you know, waving our green, white, and blue. Some will tell you when the Queen came here, they were lined up in our streets, waving to the Queen, you know, waving the green, white, and blue. But how was it like? I think Reverend, you and Mr. Kamara, for example, will tell us how it happened.
By then, I was not, I did not witness it because.
Okay, you did not witness.
Yes.
Okay, you did not witness. Okay, so which means you are under 65.
Yeah.
So, but we have here, you know, a young lady, and she is the Deputy Public Relations Officer of the Children's Forum Network. This is a group of young people, of pupils, who decided to come together way back in the early 2000s to really advocate for children of this country. So the CFN has been a very popular organization representing children, and in fact, CFN has produced leaders of this country. One of them is our own minister, the Minister of Information and Civic Education. Chenoba. He was one of those guys who actually started CFN. But now, Madam Maggie Julius, Deputy PRO of the Children's Forum Network, she's here to talk about independence. But then, tell us, what do you know about Sierra Leone's independence?
Well, according to history, books that were given and to good understanding by elders, Sierra Leone independence was gained in 1961, 27th April, and our leaders, Shaka P. Stevens and Milton Magai, some of which did not have to fight but had to come to an agreement with the Queen that they wanted independence. They wanted to be a free state or a free nation, and they wanted to manage and man the affairs of their country, Sierra Leone.
And so in 1961, Sierra Leone became an independent country. We again, the Union Jack, which is the British flag, was lowered, and the green, white, and blue was hoisted. I mean, now tell us, since you've been told in school, you've been taught, but Samuel Magai was the first prime minister of this country, you know, when we gained independence, although Siaka Stephen opposed to certain aspects of our independence. He said there should be election before independence. Why is the SLPP said no, there should be independence before election. That was how it happened. But then I'm looking at Sierra Leone as a country, 65 years down the line. I know that is your grandmom's age, right? So what are your expectations? You know, moving forward as a country, what do you think we should do as a country to make this place a better place for all of us?
Well, moving forward, I would love to see a Sierra Leone wherein other countries can come and learn from our country, and to also see a more developed Sierra Leone, not only in roads, electricity, water supply, and also in the development of technological issues. Because we are really going through constraints because of electricity. All children cannot able to study at night. We cannot able to use electricity appropriately because the on and off with extra issues, and then also road construction of roads. Because when you go to these rural areas, you're not able to see roads, and this some of these, even though there are roads in some specific area, but they're not that too good or proper. And then also in water supply, the Goma Valley water supply is not reached in most of the areas, and then also because of that, us like children are going through constraints where sometimes we have to go to distance areas to fetch water, and then these children sometimes with their buckets or sometimes have constraints while looking for fetching these waters. And also I also came to learn that before independence we had more than 5, 6, 7 constitutions, and then we have only had then after the 1961 constitution, which is the current constitution of the land. So this constitution, like, there are many ups and downs. You know, as the time progresses, the need of the people also changes. So like the constitution needs to be amended or changed.
But then, what are some of the things that you think should be changed? Now, as you speak, there is a bill in Parliament, you know, on the review of the country's 1991 constitution. So, if you are to make an input, you know, into what a review process, what will be some of your recommendations? What are some of the things that you want to see in our new constitution?
The first thing I want to say is that the abolishment of the female genital mutilation. So it was in the clause of the Child Rights Act, but it was removed.
Okay.
So it needs to be added. It needs to be added in the Child Rights Act for children, because you know, like we are not saying we are opposing our tradition, but all we are saying is that children should not be partakers of the bonus society. They should be partakers of it when they are past the age above 18 years, okay, where they can give their consent, where they can say, I really want to be partakers of this society.
So that is one key thing, because you know, among other things, that is key to you as at SCFL, right?
Yeah.
But then now there is. Do you want it to be do you want it to be reflected in the apex law? I mean the constitution, because the constitution is the apex law. Do you want that aspect of your campaign, you know, abolition of FGM, to be factored in our constitution? Is that what you say?
The abolition for children.
For children under 18.
Under 18 years.
But then now there is a call for position papers, you know, to be sent to Parliament as the review process is going on. Where citizens will now have the opportunity to make an input into this review process. Have you done that?
During the review of the Child Rights Act, we did.
No, I'm talking about now. You said you want to see something like that in our apex law, which is the constitution, and now calls are being made by Parliament for position papers. You know how citizens want our new constitution to look like. And what you've mentioned is key. Have you made any written position to Parliament for them to look into what you are just talking about here?
Yes, I think the president have done that.
Okay, your organization, the president of SCFN.
Yeah.
But then generally, since you were born, have you really enjoyed independence celebrations in this country?
Around 2018-19, I saw like they had a boo boo parade in the streets, but like it's no, that doesn't exist like it used to before. And then people used to go out in the streets wearing their green, white, and blue polos, with colorful paints on their face, on their bodies, singing and exalting the country's name. But right now they are saying that what is there to be celebrated? They are saying that we are just celebrating, but Sierra Leone is just moving forward to another level. So we are not celebrating. So I quote some people say before I celebrate salon, before I buy salon independence polo, I buy power bank or I buy half bag rest, because the polo is the money for the polo is as equal as to a bag of rice.
So, so are you saying that people are saying that they prefer buying a bag of rice or buying some kind of stuff, to that of buying our green, white, and blue polo or T-shirt?
Yeah, they're saying that we would buy power bank because if after the independence they are going to take the light, so we are going to get the power bank.
That is interesting. But then quickly over to you, evangelist. Once again, Reverend. Now tell us, as a religious body, in the first place, are you going to be at the interfaith service? No, whatever. Your representative will be there, right?
Yeah.
But then now tell us, moving forward as a nation, we know we made all the wrongs, and in fact, identifying a problem identified is a problem half solved. Now that we know the problem, like you highlighted earlier, what do we need to do as a nation right now to get it right, so that Sierra Leone once again becomes an envy, in the sub-region and beyond?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things we have to do, first of all, for our political leaders, I think they need to be honest with us to have the political will to move this nation forward. And if they have that political will, they'll be able to succeed. But because there's no political will, the tendency for us to stagnate as a nation, is so great. But then also, as citizens of this county, we should be able to be more responsible. We should be responsible citizens. We should work together, concerted efforts to see how we want to get this nation to be a prosperous nation. Because the people, they would have to decide the leaders that they are going to choose to lead the nation. And if we are not sincere and serious about it, we just concentrate on, our own political parties and our own tribal group or ethnic group, we are really missing the mark. So we should be able to work together concertedly so that we will get to that place, you see. But then even our political leaders, we've seen lots of policies, lots of structures that they have tried to develop, but we are talking about the aspect of not just the rhetoric, but we want to see reality. You see, it's not just about rhetoric. We want to see reality. Let it be proven in tangible terms. You see, we really want to see this thing get going because we have so many policies. So how are we going to make this nation great?
Okay.
Yes.
So now that we are having this interfaith service, because we shall be joining our outside broadcast team at State House at 11 to bring us live coverage of the interfaith service that is taking place today at State House. I know prayers will be offered, and if you are to pray for Sierra Leone, what will be your prayers?
Well, if I'm going to pray for Sierra Leone, first of all, I would, because it's a responsibility for us as religious leaders. The Bible mentioned that we have that responsibility to pray for our leaders so that the Lord will endow them with wisdom, the Lord will endow them with knowledge, understanding for them to work according to the ways of God. Okay, so that would be number one, to pray for our leaders, because we know that it's really not easy for us to lead an organization, not to talk about, to take care of this whole country. So many challenges. So we need to pray for our leaders the president, the vice president, cabinet ministers, parliamentarians, and whatever. We need to pray for them. But then also, we need to pray for our nation as well, thinking about the economic situation in our country. It's really too much. It's bad. We need to pray for the economic situation. But also we need to pray for peace and stability in our nation. Because if there's no peace, definitely
there will be no development.
Definitely there will. So we have to pray for peace. And we also need to pray for even this national cohesion, for us to see ourselves as one, for us to come together. You see, a nation divided, we will not be able to succeed.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Reverend. And back to you, Mary Julius, Deputy PRO, Children's Forum Network. Now, in as much as yes, you want the government to do certain things that will make this country a better place for all of us, but then also, what's your message for young people, for children? All of us know the social issues of confronting youths. For example, in this country right now, drug abuse, is one. I know you must have heard about Kush, right? So, as a young person, in as much as you want a better Sierra Leone, moving forward after 65 years of independence, what's your message to especially your peers?
Well, my message to them is for them to learn to love their country, and also for them to learn about the government, the ways, for them to read about government in schools, for them to learn about the government in history, so that when they too grow up in the near future, they will not make the mistakes of the past. Rather, they will try to use it as a guide and then try to improve our country. And also for them to use the social media wisely, because nowadays you see young people use, talking about Sierra Leoneans to be specific, using the media in ways that are not satisfying, and using and doing content that are not relatively, or that they destroy their image in the future or even now. And also for them to pay attention to their schoolworks, and then because education is the key, and then for them to listen to their parents, and for them to, even if to participate in child-led groups in their schools, even if it's not safe, but child-led groups can also help children greatly, like the news journal and the debates in society, and for them to help each other, for them to give a feeling of belonging to people around them, for them not to discriminate or bully their friends around them, and for them also to have a blessed and peaceful.
What about those that are in this? Those who are partaking in harmful drugs. What do you have for them?
Well, for those that are partaking in harmful drugs, I think that these things are not good for their mental health, and then they should stop doing it. And I think these people don't only need they also need therapy or a safe space for them. Like they need to provide centers.
Rehab centers.
Rehab centers for these people that because some people they say, me I want left push, but you're not seeing it in them. They're saying one thing and then they are doing the other.
Okay.
So they need to be in rehab centers where they should be able to do things that even after when they are finished with rehab center, they'll be able to do something better with their lives.
Okay, now let us talk about I know you know the national pledge, right?
Yes.
So just recite it, as part of your own contribution to your country today. Today being the 27th of April 2026, marking our 65th independence anniversary. Just recite the national pledge for us.
Can I say something very important?
Yes. I
don't know why, but when I was in primary school, we used to sing this song, but I know it. But in secondary schools, they're not persistent on us singing it. We only sing the national anthem and then the school songs, and then go to our classes. You know why? They say, not carry the national anthem because now person the course is, and you know for so you for big, you never follow the next time when you don't sing so now I swear you to swear yourself. So they say don't sing it.
So the national pledge, and I swear.
They say it's
Eh?
you are taking an oath upon yourself
But then,
for your country because I
Yeah.
pledge my love and loyalty to my country, Sierra Leone, and most of them.
so you are taking an oath.
Yeah.
So let's go. I pledge my love and loyalty
To my country, Sierra Leone, I vow
I'll
to serve her faithfully at all times. I promise to defend her, honor her good name, always work for her unity, peace, freedom, and prosperity.
I put her interests above all else. So help me God.
So
So help me God. Wow.
Amen.
That's where those were so Well, thank you so much, Mary Julius. She is the Public Relations Officer too of the Children's Forum Network. And today is the 27th of April 2026, marking 65 years of self-rule. Now, Reverend, quickly, what's your advice to not only the politicians, but also young people, fellow religious leaders, traditional leaders, and I mean every Sierra Leonean, basically, in terms of having an agenda. You mentioned a national agenda, and you also said that governance is continuity.
Yeah.
So, tell us more. What do you expect of all of us, as citizens, to make this place a better place for all of us?
Yeah, well, actually, first of all, I want to address my colleague religious leaders of this nation. I think we need to take our rightful place in this society. I know that some of us have compromised our position. Some of us have become so actively involved in politics and having that partisan spirit. And so it's difficult for us to speak truth to power, but we should know that we are supposed to be the voice of the voiceless.
Okay.
And so please, let's take our role very, very serious. But then also to our young people, from our statistics, the last national census, we're told that we have about over 70% of this population
is a youth population.
is under the age of 35.
Yes.
And so you should not waste your life because you are the future of this nation. And so we really want to see you use the potential you have.
Okay.
We know that, our orientation, we focus on white collar job, and so we are not concentrating on this blue collar job, and so we need to think of that seriously, and even to be engaged in something useful for our society. And,
But you know that a society has been tailored in a way that lack of respect for the blue collar jobs we're talking about.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be in that white collar job category. Much respect, much attention has not been given to middle level manpower, which is actually contributing to economies. Even in China we are talking about here, the United States, the middle level manpower is actually the middle level manpower transmogrifies the economy.
Yeah.
Because they are the ones in the factories. They are the ones in the industries.
You're right, sir. In fact, I remember the words of the former bank governor, Roger, I think Professor Roger. He mentioned that as they were trying to have these new currencies, he mentioned that the solution to that problem is for us to embark on industries and for us to be able to produce something. Because if we rely
now, Reverend, there's
Yeah.
one thing, you
Yes,
understand? Even us as a nation, we have that mentality.
Yeah.
Ordinary driver,
Mhm.
ordinary plumber,
Yeah.
ordinary carpenter,
Mhm.
ordinary welder. But then if the highest office in this land or in every land, without that plumber to fix your toilet, you cannot sit in your office.
It's true, sir.
So
But
it's
it's-
just ordinary diploma. No,
You see,
it's
I
not.
think what we have been doing over the past years, we have been blaming our colonial masters. But it's these same colonial masters who were in charge, who were running in Nigeria and Ghana, okay, concerning this white collar job. But the leaders, they were able to see ahead of them to have some kind of, this middleman power job. And I'm calling on our leaders that we should be thinking about that seriously, because if we are talking about the system of education in our country, if you fail to provide those tech voc institution, people will drop out. So that's why.
Okay.
some of
Now
them are coming-
the irony is that they harvest timber here.
Mhm.
They send this timber to China, for example. They manufacture the furniture, and we go again and buy the furniture for our offices, for our homes, for our hotels, as the case may be.
Yeah. And it's a big problem for us. So we need to get back to that.
But what do you want to what do you want to actually leave with our politicians? Because at the end of the day, I keep on saying this: if only we get politics right,
Yeah.
we can get every other thing
Definitely.
right.
So, politicians, I want to appeal to you. You should be able to have that political will to seek the interests of this nation than your political party and your interests. Because, the legacy, that we are going to leave, even if you are dead, generations to come will rise up to curse or bless your memory. And so we have to do something, because if we continue to be like that, we will not be able to see a prosperous Sierra Leone.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. And I think that is how we say goodbye. And he is Reverend Mohammed Mansari from the Evangelical College of Theology, Joey. Earlier, you heard the young lady who has just recited the national flag. What she says, that is I swear. So anybody where they take oath must not say I swear this will. That's where they make a shit over fine. Many thanks to the entire production team, my able camera operators in the studios, Edward Kamara, ETK, very seasoned camera operator. Samuel Bangura is also here with us, and the lady. The lady, I've just forgotten her name, but then she's here with us in the studios. And many thanks to our control room operators, Senesi Makavori, and all of them they are in the control room. But then I know Senesi is there, and also Mr. Kago, William Kago is also there in the control room. Many thanks to all of you guys for contributing to this particular program on this special day. Today is the 65th anniversary of the country's independence, and Sierra Leone is celebrating, but in a very low-key manner, which is why shortly we shall be joining our outside broadcasting for a live coverage on an interfaith service at State House. That service is going to be observed by no less a person than the first gentleman of the country. Well, on your screen, shortly after this program, we shall be joining our team, our outside broadcast team at State House. Many thanks to all of you, May and Reverend Mansari, for coming on this special day.
Yeah.
Well, that is how we say goodbye. It has been Good Morning Sierra Leone, which came to you live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation Television, and also through our social media handles. Goodbye and enjoy your day. And this day is our day. It is Sierra Leone's day. Even though, yes, the economy is not too good, but then for the fact that there is life, or for the fact that Sierra Leone exists as a nation, for the fact that we have relative quiet peace in this country, I think that is one thing. That is something that we should celebrate. Many thanks and enjoy your day.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you.
As a mother of the house, whenever I want to prepare palm soup, there's no need pounding palm fruit. All I need is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. My soup is done, and its preparation, it is not difficult at all. Nkulenu palm soup base, it's easily done with no difficulties. Just take few ladles and your soup is done. And its flavor, it's amazing. This is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. And this is Nkulenu's Ghana's original spiced palm soup base. Iron fruit and turkey berries are naturally added.
Also available brown gold natural cocoa powder, sunny gold brown sugar, neat fufu flour, shito, pisap and moringa. All available at Nyami Ado Enterprise, 1 Lower Waterloo Street, Freetown.
Nkulenu palm soup base.
Ghanaian original taste.